Mhm.
Now, I think it's time for us to define what we mean by a mindful leader. And here is my definition of being a mindful leader, which is mindful leaders are who practice mindfulness to hone their leadership skills to become a better leader. So that's how I define a mindful leader.
Mhm. Yes.
And because the ultimate goal here is to become a better leader, I think we have to talk a little bit about the qualities of a good leader.
Hmm.
And I want to maybe just give you a list, a laundry list of those qualities.
Okay. Yep.
And they are things like, I guess we talked about this already earlier, being more awareness. So mindfulness, awareness, there's a strong relationship right there, just like what we
Hmm.
discussed.
Hmm.
Being able to listen, being able
Hmm.
to be compassionate, being resilient, being proactive and being prepared, and also being tenacious, not giving up on yourself as well as others, and so on. So I want you to explain a little bit about how mindfulness could really help us develop these skills even further. Although we may have some of these skills already, but how is mindfulness really positively impacting these very important skills for becoming a better leader?
Thank you for that list.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that I would highlight about a mindful leader
Hmm.
is that he or she or they understand that the source of peace,
Hmm.
and the place to find rest is starts within. I think that's the most important thing. They understand that when they renew themselves, that has a ripple effect.
Hmm.
And so there's this constant setting intention of how do I hone my self awareness,
Hmm.
right? And so one of the qualities that you pointed out was that quality of being a very good listener, a good listener to oneself, but also a good listener to others.
Hmm.
So what I've learned from my experience is that I learn so much from listening to other people's stories
Hmm.
and listening in a way that I'm not filled with my own
Hmm.
content in my head, but that I'm empty of myself and just truly being present and fully with that other person as they share their story. And there's so much that comes out of that, and it changes relationships.
Hmm.
And when we are aware of others' humanity,
Hmm.
right? It can change a whole organization. So I don't know if you have that experience, like when you engage in true
Hmm.
communication,
Hmm.
where you're not there to fix the situation. When they're talking, you're not having the commentary in your head of, okay, how am I going to respond? What should I say? How am I going to make this better? But you
Right.
just empty yourself
Hmm.
and just listen,
Hmm.
right? That in itself
Hmm.
changes the way people communicate and work together and collaborate.
Yeah, and I think as a leader or as leaders, a lot of times you run into these situations where we have to take these actions very quickly.
Mm,
And what could happen in the process is just forgetting about the person and just thinking about the work and, just trying to get things done. And then in the process, people on the other side feel that they're not really,
mhm.
you know, I would say perceived as another human being or perceived as somebody with the feelings and all that. So I think, yeah, being able to have that kind of a context whenever we work with others is critical because we are not just, I guess, robots just doing work.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think with this mindfulness practice, another quality that it helps to develop is,
Mhm.
being comfortable with vulnerability. I think
Mhm.
as leaders, it's very easy to have that label. I'm a leader, therefore I have to be perfect. I have to know everything.
Mhm.
But I think true leadership, a mindful leader, is willing to communicate to others without feeling shame,
Mhm.
about their defects. That I make mistakes or that I don't know, and that
Mhm.
it's okay.
Mhm.
So being okay with imperfection
Mhm.
and being honest about our difficulties.
Mhm.
And I think what's really beautiful about that is when we're able to lean into our vulnerability, that opens up space for those working for with us to also express their pain.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah. And
Mhm.
once you recognize that, you could definitely relate to others better, your coworkers, your colleagues.
Yeah.
And part of it, I guess, is also showing your compassion, being able to show your compassion more that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I express that only because that's been my practice these days,
Mhm.
is because I grew up, as you can see, an Asian female, and so many times there's a part of me that has to feel like I have to be strong, that
Mhm.
everything's okay.
Mhm.
And my practice these days is to admit, okay, no, I'm struggling with this.
Yeah.
And what I notice is that when I'm with a group and when I express that honestly,
Mhm.
people will come to me and say, thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
And it's because for some reason that part of me that was able to say that resonated with them, a part of them that's also struggling.
Mhm.
And so then there's that immediate connection.
Yeah. But I think another misconception is like people saying things like, okay, so yeah, you're more compassionate about yourself. You are not trying to be a perfectionist, but does that also make you, give up on things too easily, that kind of thing. But I think it's really the opposite because it's not really about giving up on things, but it's more about you're not really obsessed with, I guess, being able to accomplish anything, which frees you from failing and then trying again because you're not always successful.
Hmm.
In the process, you're bound to have these failures, and being mindful and being compassionate about yourself allows you to keep trying until you are able to get there. So in that sense, I think mindfulness is also very helpful.
Yeah. And mindfulness also helps to say, okay, so maybe there is a part of me or a skill set that I'm not equipped with. So in that sense, either I have an option to develop it, or if there's someone in my team that is better and can do it,
Mm-hmm.
then delegate.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Of course.
Hmm.
Yeah. That allowing you to become more flexible that way too, which
Yeah.
is one of the qualities, right? So being flexible, and we just talked about being tenacious, right? How mindfulness can help with that.